And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Live with Yana live stream. And tonight's topic is how to shift your career from software developer to Scrum Master. So thank you so much for finding some time this evening to join our live discussion. Please make sure you introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. So let us know if you're a software developer, or maybe you're a Scrum Master, or maybe you want to shift from the software developer to Scrum Master. So please, will be great if you put it in the comments. If you're new to my live show, I'm Yana Martins, and I've recently started my journey as IT recruiter. So that's why I've started a new YouTube channel that's dedicated to IT career in Australia. So again, tonight we're going to talk about how to shift your career from software developer to Scrum Master. And Orod is going to share his story and how he changed his career and his challenges and advantages coming from software engineering background to training and coaching. So it's incredibly relevant topic, specifically for those who are thinking about like the same transition. So make sure tag or share it with your colleagues and friends who need to hear this. And before I'll pass it on to Orod to introduce himself, I just want to quickly remind you that we're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you want to watch replays, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I'm going there live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various speakers from my network. And we're talking about all the things around IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. You can also join my meetup group, so to make sure you get notifications for upcoming discussions. And also, don't be shy, ask us questions. We try to answer your questions from all the platforms. And yeah, make sure to stay on the topic as well. So we're talking about the Scrum Master career today, so please stay on the topic. And the most active participants will also receive some nice surprise at the end of the stream. So that's basically all from me. So we're having a bit of trouble to stream on LinkedIn. Let me just, because the YouTube is going all right, let me just try to fix it quickly and see if I can keep it running on LinkedIn as well, because sometimes LinkedIn doing this thing. Sorry, guys.
It happens, Yana, always.
I know. That's, will be shame just run it on YouTube, but don't run it on LinkedIn. Okay, let me try to edit again on LinkedIn. Okay, looks like LinkedIn is working now as well. I'm not going to repeat my intro because the people on LinkedIn people on YouTube have to rewatch the intro. So, but basically just reminding that the topic is how to shift your career from software developer to Scrum Master. And without any other intros, I'm passing on to Orod to introduce himself. Thank you, Orod. Please
Thanks,
tell us
Yana.
briefly.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Yana, and thanks, everyone. My name is Orod Semsarzadeh. I'm a Scrum Master, trainer, and Agile coach. And as you all probably guess, I used to be a developer, and I switched my career to Scrum Master and be an Agile practitioner a while ago. And I'm quite excited for this session. And it's a pleasure to be here, Yana. Thank you.
Thank you, Orod. So basically, I guess we're gonna jump, straight into it. And obviously, my first question would be, why did you change from software developer to Scrum Master? And basically, just tell us your quick story before we give any tips to the people who are switching career. Let's talk about your story and what was your journey.
Exactly. Now that's a very good question. It's actually back to probably around 2004 or something. I just graduated from uni. I've started my first work as a software developer, and I actually like programming and coding and development. But at that time, I've noticed that I like technology, but my passion is human. So even at that time, I had a plan in my mind that at some stage I need to work with human, and I'm not gonna, retire as a developer. Um, but at that time, I had no idea about, agile delivery and Scrum or anything like that. So I was thinking about project management.
Mm.
So I think in 2009, I was lucky enough to work in a Scrum team for the first time. So I exposed to Scrum for the first time. And I remember the first couple of months was quite challenging for me because I haven't worked in a team, in a small team, Scrum team, in the collaborative team, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it was quite challenging. But after a while, maybe around 6 months or something, I've seen some value in Scrum. And at that time, I was like, that can be my next career, if I want to switch. But at that time, still didn't really think about switching because I enjoyed development. So after 2 years working in that team, I went to one of the Scrum training, and I get the Scrum Master certification. Even at that time, didn't think about changing my career. But the next job I got during the interview, and at that time, 2000, maybe 10 or something, 11. So Scrum still was kind of new. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like that. Today, everyone at least heard, the terminology, but it was a little bit new at that time. And so during the interview, I said, yeah, I work in Scrum. I have the certificate. I know how Scrum works, stuff like that. And, the position was a senior dev, and they just promoted me as a tech lead because they said, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Scrum, so let's take care of the whole delivery. Right? And, I started practicing Scrum, right, without
Mm-hmm.
actually being Scrum Master. So I
Mm-hmm.
started practicing as a tech lead, head of technology, that kind of role, someone who's been supported by management and also had authority. So I kind of pushed Scrum to the organization, right? I forced people, yeah, this is the best way. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And the result was good, right? But now I think after, I don't know, 6, 7 years, when I look back, I noticed that I did a lot of mistakes, right? And I'm going to talk about it shortly. But so I practiced Scrum for a couple of years, and then I work in a larger scale. I exposed to SAFe, and then I got my SAFe um, SPC certificate and started training SAFe and Scrum as well, and also working on Scrum and at larger scale, basically. And during that time, so on this slide, around 2017 until 2020, 2019, I've noticed that I need a skill that I don't have. And because it was the first time that I wanted to change and influence without authority, without having authority. So I've noticed that I need to change, my language, how to talk to people. So I went to lots of coaching courses. I practiced a lot of different type of question, how to talk to people, how to deal with different characteristic, personality, and started or changed my approach basically.
Mm-hmm.
And now my approach is more toward coaching and leading rather than, directing and forcing people. So to answer your question, I know it was, very long answer, but why I changed it? I think because I like to work with human.
And would you say like overall your transition was quite smooth? Yeah. So
Very smooth.
it wasn't really like some tipping point that like, okay, so I'm not doing development now. I'm gonna do like Scrum and leadership or training. So it was a kind of a graduate progression in terms of you, as you mentioned, you get a like more lead position and then progress from there.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't planned really to
Mm-hmm.
change it. I remember the last code that I committed and pushed, I still remember. So that was a turning point. That was like, okay, I'm not going to code as a professional developer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the journey was quite smooth and it gradually happened.
Yeah, not like you wake up one day and like, okay, no, that's it, I'm not gonna not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
code anymore.
exactly. Yeah.
So basically, Jason have a question, but I think we're gonna cover it in a second, Jason, as we go through the questions. But yeah, so what kind of things do you do as a Scrum Master? So I guess before we get into it, just maybe a little bit like build up on your journey, and you also mentioned it was quite a graduate transition for you. And yeah, so what kind of things, as Jason asking, you do as a Scrum Master, and what kind of like the also stages of your progression as a Scrum Master you went through?
So that's a very good question, because if you ask this question from different people, you probably get different answers. Today, my answer definitely is different with my answer 5 years ago, right? Today, as a experienced Scrum Master and someone who worked with Scrum for quite a long time, I would say Scrum Master, first of all, is someone who has mastery in Scrum. So Scrum Master needs to understand Scrum as a framework. But the most important, and Scrum has some ceremonies and you need to do it, and some practices and stuff like that. So, but the main responsibility maybe of Scrum Master is to make sure people see value in Scrum and understand what problems Scrum try to resolve and why we do these practices. So the focus as a Scrum Master today for me is not to talk too much. It's more like listen, but make sure people have a constructive conversation rather than direct them and say, okay, do this because Scrum said, right? So hopefully I answered Jason's question.
And I'm quite glad we went back to this listening point, because a few days ago I asked this question on LinkedIn, and actually, guys on LinkedIn, please give me a thumbs up that you can actually see our stream, because I've just reset the stream on LinkedIn. I just hope you can see us. So if you're watching us LinkedIn, please just comment with a thumbs up or with emoji of anything, so I know you're here. Yeah, so I ran a quick post on the LinkedIn asking people what they think they should concentrate on when they're starting a Scrum Master career, and I just kind of pick like a few skills that I, from coming from non-IT background, thought could be useful for Scrum Master. And look, majority of people said facilitation, conflict resolution, also the training. But what's quite interesting as well was a few comments there. Serge and few people said listening and observing. And then again, like Adam here said, like, listening and, honest communication. So it seems like, listening, emotional intelligence. Yeah, so a lot of things to do with, I guess with the facilitation, listening, conflict resolution. That's probably the most important for the Scrum Master. So what's your view on this, Orod? Like what would be the, your top pick? Not from these
No,
points, but overall.
that's absolutely a valid point. Listening is very important. I think, because you have facilitation and conflict resolution, it got the most vote. So facilitation, it's very, very important skills. People needs to gain it. Facilitation is not just book some meeting on people's calendar, right? So just think about how many meetings you attended and it has no outcome. Or you attended to a meeting, you didn't even know why you are there. Okay, and people start arguing and all those kind of stuff. So facilitation, definitely it's very important. And in fact, I encourage all the team that I work after a while to start facilitating the event themselves, because all the Scrum events is designed for the team, not for Scrum Master, right? And that's why I said, I think as my point of view, Scrum Master needs to make sure people understand the value in Scrum. So when they understand the value in all those meetings, they come to the meeting themselves, right? And it's a really good skill to achieve, and people achieve it by practicing. So facilitation, it's very important. And listening, as some people mentioned, I think it's a key, it's a must. When you listen more, I think people, because as a Scrum Master, people needs to trust you. People needs to let you in the team, right? You're there to help the team to do something that they want to do, yeah? Improve organization, agility, all those kinds of stuff. And if people don't accept you, they don't do it, right? When they see the value themselves, they just do it themselves, right? So in a lot of meetings that I run, I don't talk. I just let people to talk. I listen. Sometimes every now and then I ask some question and make sure the conversation happening.
And I guess the facilitation, that is about creating this trust environment and make sure people can actually speak up, which is not the easy task to achieve. Not always, especially if it's been some misunderstanding in the team before as well. How you can bring it back so that people can feel safe, talking about their problems and talking about their concerns. Jason's asking, so is it kind of like a team coach?
Yeah, Scrum Master is definitely a team coach. But it's a team coach that has mastery in Scrum, because you can have a team coach, but you can be a team coach, but not a Scrum Master, right? If the team is not a Scrum team, then the team coach the team to do whatever they need to do.
Something else,
it can be other stuff,
Yeah. And I think you also wanted to share a few, I guess, stages of the Scrum maturity, and you kind of already mentioned it. It's one thing just to learn Scrum, but you need to make sure you master it as you go.
So these are my stages of maturity. I'm not saying everyone have the same experience, but what happened to me was that I started practicing Scrum as in the team, right, as a software developer. And then I went to some training, I read about it and learned and practiced for a couple of years. And after that, for a couple of years, I was a Scrum police, right? So do this, why we do it? Because Scrum said, right? So direct people, okay? And make sure everyone follow the rules, come to daily stand-up, etc., etc. And after that, I think the third stage, I call it Scrum Mastery, and I become a Scrum Master, right? Which is I improved my coaching and emotional intelligence and my language and how to talk to people and all those kind of stuff, the facilitation and everything that we discussed.
And I guess, the reason we're talking, about this particular career shift today is also because a lot of people became Scrum Master coming from like BA or testing background. So, but you came from like a software development background. So what do you think was like the biggest challenge for you coming from the technical background, and also, how it helped you actually in a way as well?
Mm. That's a very interesting point because, as I said, I train Scrum as well, and in all the courses that I had, I can't remember. Maybe one person was a software developer, right? Most of them had a test or BA or project management background. So my experience and challenges as someone with a technical background, I think the biggest challenge was my language. As a developer, I was quite direct, right? So I was like, I don't agree with you. That was the language I used. Right?
Yep.
Especially because English is my second language. But to be honest, I think English never been a barrier. I think my mindset was the barrier, and how I used to talk to people and talk to computer as a software developer, right? Because as a developer, you talk to computer a lot, and computer is different with humans. So I think one of the biggest challenge for me was my language. I was very direct.
Mm-hmm.
I also, as a developer, I learned that there is always a best practice. So what is the best practice? What is the best solution for this problem, right? Which, as a Scrum Master, there is normally no best solution, right? Because the complexity and uncertainty is very high. So that was another challenge for me. Another one, which is quite interesting, when I switched my career to be agile practitioner, I've noticed that I have lots of slack time. And at the beginning, it was quite challenging because I'm not used to having slack time, right? As a developer or a technical person, you utilize most of the time. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You sit and code. But I had lots of slack time, and at the beginning, I didn't know what to do. And it took me a while to understand that I need, and not me, everyone in the team need that slack time to improve the system. If you don't have it, you don't have time and room to think, right? So that's very important. As a Scrum Master, you always need to think about the next step, because the current step, people is doing it, right? So what's the next step? So you need to have time to think about it, how to send that message to the team, so they also understand that there is something needs to be changed, right? And
almost
help
like
them to change.
stepping back and look at the bigger picture. So that's what you kind of need to use this time. Yep.
Yeah. So and another one was I got involved into technical issue.
Yes.
So there was a technical problem. I put a comment, right? Have you tried this? Did you look at the log file? Did you do this? Do we have this? That kind of stuff. And that's not good.
I'm just thinking about, this like a backseat drivers when you
yeah, exactly. Like, that hurts people, right?
Yeah.
But the other side, as a developer, I experimented everything, all the problem, all the challenges that team had, right? I've been involved in the entire delivering the product, so I completely aware what's going on. When people talk, I know what they're talking about, right? And now, because I work on my coaching skill, now I also can help them in technical stuff without getting involved, right? Maybe ask a question and ask a right question. So, and also, it's quite interesting. But when people realize that I used to be a developer, they felt something, there is some common ground, and they accept me, and they don't think I'm someone that had no idea about what they're doing, right? So I was part of them, right? One of the reason I become a Scrum Master is to empower developer and tester and team. So these are, I think, my strength. But language, that's very important for developer, because developer are very direct. Scrum Masters shouldn't be direct. And always, because we're talking about how to switch, right? One thing I've done, I worked with some Scrum Master when I was a developer, and I look at them and see what they did that I like and what they did that I didn't like. I try to not to do them, and I try to do what they did, which I liked and as a developer and worked for me, right?
Yeah. So you have experience from another side, basically.
I have experience from both sides.
Yeah. So, and you can really like put yourself back in this development, those developers you're working with now, and see like, okay, I've been in this situation. Like, how would I want to be treated in this situation,
Exactly.
and how it can help me to solve this problem. We have a few questions here actually. Gabor, I like your points about listening, also practicing and learning first. The Scrum policy mastery analogy reminds me of Shuhari. No questions yet, just listening.
Yeah.
So Gabor is keep practicing the listening.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. At that point I didn't even aware of Shuhari stages, right? But it kind of happened to me just organically.
Guys, sorry, I still hasn't seen that anyone can see us on LinkedIn. Gabor, if you have a chance actually to click on LinkedIn and see if we're streaming there, that would be great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Jason saying, yes, Slack time for continuous improvement. So how much of the communication is with the development team compared to the non-technical people?
Communication is with development team. I spend more time with non-technical than technical at the moment. Because I think non-technical needs a little bit more support, at least, where I'm working. But yeah, developer if they need, but most of the time developer and technical people, they know what to do. So I spend a little bit more with non-technical
people. And thank you, Gabor. Just Gabor, I can watch you from LinkedIn as well. Thank you, Gabor, for checking. Basically, I want to ask you guys also who's listening, do you think that the Scrum Master should have this technical background or not? Maybe some of you working in some Scrum team at the moment, and so what do you think? Do you think Scrum Master should have a technical background or not? Or is it relevant? Is it completely irrelevant for you? So yeah, if you can say it from your experience, please share it in the comments. We would love to know who you've been working with, and if it makes difference. Because that just Orod said, you can really understand the developers from inside out because you've been there, exactly what's happening. But also you had your challenges. But I guess what are the differences, between mastering the development and mastering the Scrum?
So the biggest difference is your audience as a developer most of the time is computer. And as a Scrum Master, you spend most of the time with people. So I think that's the main difference. Another difference, which is quite interesting, is that as a developer, I perform when I was in the flow, right? So when I put in the flow, I'm talking about when you put your headphones on and you start coding, right? And you don't realize, how long you're coding. Okay. So kind of in isolation, you talk to other people, but you don't want to be distracted. You work in, by yourself, focus and just get things done, right? But as a Scrum Master, you can't work in isolation. You can't just put the headphones on and work, right? It just doesn't make sense. So you work better when you are with a group of people. So, and I think that's probably back to the facilitation and speaking and stuff like that. So that might be, that might take a while to be comfortable to talk in a community, in front of a group of people. So that's another good thing and the difference. So another thing is what you achieve, right? As a developer, you build something, you look at it and say, oh, I built this one, I like it, right? And if you work on a website or something, even years later, sometime you go back and look at, your code and what you've done, and you get happy, my code's still working, people are still using, that kind of thing. You show your friends, this is what I've done, all that kind of stuff. As a Scrum Master, a lot of times, what you achieve is not quite tangible. There is nothing really you can show, you can feel that people's happy, everything's working well, everyone's happy, everything's good, people like you, people talk to you, all those kind of stuff. And that's good. But again, people need to realize that this is a difference. You don't build anything tangible.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't necessarily come and say, thank you, Orod, for doing this as a Scrum Master, right? So I think people might find it a little bit difficult.
Harder to measure in a way, like, when for some people who measure their success. Do you think it will be harder? No,
not about the success. I think it's, at least for me, when I see what I built, it makes me happy. Okay. Now I don't have anything. Tomorrow, when I leave this team, right? There is nothing there. It's just my name, maybe, and then after a while, people forget.
Yep. So I guess, and that's probably next point that you wanted to touch on today. So it's a lot of this career shift. There was not only behavior but a mindset shift for you as well. When changing, from the development, from software developer to Scrum Master.
That's right. So change mindset for me, and also helping people to change their mindset. Now it's my main focus, right?
So in your typical day as a Scrum Master, what do you think? I don't know, for example, what's the % of your time will go to a conflict resolution, as example? I don't know. Roughly,
not that much. Not that much.
Yeah. Okay. So because, what's the majority of your day? Yeah.
Over time, you learn how to start with the team to, I'm not saying you're going to avoid conflict resolution, but you can mitigate it a little bit, right? By, for example, open conversation, by make sure that everyone's clear, everyone agree on what we're doing, don't force people, that kind of thing, visualize everything, have a very, open conversation. That kind of thing help you not to even go through the conflict resolution. So I don't spend that much time on conflict resolution, fortunately. When I start with the team at the beginning couple of months, I will be quite busy with, first of all, introducing myself to the team. What is the goal? What we want to achieve? How we want to work? Run some training, that kind of stuff. And when we start, after a couple of sprints, normally I don't need to spend more than a few hours a day with the team. And that's what I'm talking about, the slack time, right? Yeah. So one of the measure of success, speaking of success, for me is I don't get involved in so many conversations. That's a measure of success for me. And that help, that show me that, people clear, good communications happening between team. We have good conversation in the stand-up. The meetings are short and, they are good. The success of measure, things that you can measure, that's one of them.
Yeah. So as less like back and forward going on in the team, you would say
as
like
long
it's
as the
more
communication is happen, right? The communication is happening around the goal for the sprint. I think I've done my job, right? Everything else, people know what to do. They don't need me. They are the best people to decide, how to work. They just need a little bit help and to have better communication. Communication is a big issue, and goal. Most of the team, they don't have a common goal and they don't have a good communication. So if the team has a goal with a good communication, everything else is easy. All this, I don't know, relative estimation or no estimation or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. They're just easy problem. The main things that I focus is the goal for the team and good communication.
Jason, I have another question. Hearing that most of the communication is done with non-technical teams, I don't think it's necessary. But as a developer myself, and since Agile came up by developers, I prefer if they did. So Jason prefer
I'm
more
not
communication.
quite clear about the question.
I think Jason's saying that he prefers more communication as a developer.
Well, I think it's different team by team. Some team you need to spend more time with developers. Some team you don't need to spend too much time with developers. And you need
maybe
to spend
Jason
a
have
little
a
more
specific
time.
Maybe Jason have a specific example for us. Like if you have some specific example you can share with us, like maybe particularly in your team you feel like the communication could be done differently. Yes, so please put in the comment. We would like to hear more. And while Jason's doing that, I guess with one more thing, or you prepared for today's stream. So the few shifts in behavior. I think we already touched on this one.
Yeah, I think we talked about most of it.
Just to summarize a little bit, I guess.
So one thing is, as a technical person, please don't make comments on how people and developers work. Okay, so you might know, but you're not the SME. Okay, so as I said, just facilitate it, make sure, ask a right question from the team so they get to the answer themselves. My job is not to give the answer to them, is to help them to see the problem and find the best solution for themselves, right? Because what I think it's the right solution, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right solution for them. So that's one thing. Another one is, as I said, sometimes as a developer, you go to the meeting and you already know the answers for all the questions. So you're not listening. You go there to convince people that you're right. Get away from that, right? And let people again to think. Or again, don't give them the answer. Don't directly ask them to do that kind of thing. Just lead them, guide them, coach them. As I said, when they see the value, when people see the value and they see the problem, they normally come with the right solution, to be honest. And that's really amazing. They just need to see from different angles. And that's my job, just to change the direction a little bit, see this problem from this view, and they do the rest.
And I guess ask the right questions as well.
Yeah, exactly. My job is just asking questions. I don't do anything else. Pretty much I just ask questions. And a lot of times the answers are, Sorry.
Sounds like a perfect job, you know, but like sounds like a perfect job, you know, they just if someone,
Yeah,
you know,
but it
coming
took me
from
10
the side,
years.
I know,
It took me 10
to learn
years to
to
get
ask
to
the
this
right
point,
questions.
right? You can't believe when you don't ask the right question and you don't have the right attitude, how complex and how difficult this job can be. Because influencing without authority, trust me, is not easy. And also, you're not just influencing the team as a Scrum Master. As a Scrum Master, you also influence on other people, you know, the mid manager or senior manager, or even, you know, executive. So I think this is critical. And that's why I'm saying the slack time is needed, because you need to, for having half an hour meeting, I might need to think about it for 2 hours. I'm just saying, maybe not 2 hours,
Yeah,
but, you know,
no,
not
100%.
constantly 2 hours,
Yeah.
but think, okay, this is the plan, and then think again, repeat and repeat, and be prepared. So yeah, it sounds easy, but it takes time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, you know, and it's exactly what we're talking about, this, like, you know, shift in the behavior, because it's exactly what you just mentioned. Instead of like just coming to, like, you know, have the right solution in your mind and push an agenda, you know, it's not about that. It's about
Yeah.
kind of being open about the suggestions, and understand that people might find a better solution as well.
Yeah. Or even sometimes I just let people to make a bad decision, you know, and just let's try. First of all, I think it's not a good decision, might be. Second of all,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we need to make mistake, to fail, and then understand that, okay, maybe that's not the right way. Let's try something else.
And that could be hard as well, you know, if you're like a, you know, control freak, you know, a lot of us control freaks, and we feel like, oh my God,
Yeah,
like, you know, they doing it, like, that's not how I would want to do it. And yes,
exactly.
it
That was my
could be
second
doubting.
stage. That was when I was in the second stage of my maturity, right?
Yeah.
And when you're there, this job is not fun.
Yeah. So you feel like, you know, you kind of, you need to let people to fail, but you still feel it's your
Sometimes, yeah,
responsibility in a
as
way.
long as, you know, as long as they, you know, they're not gonna, for example, I don't know, do something really critical, which it won't
Yeah.
happen, but yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in Scrum, we time box it. Worst case scenario, we lose 2 weeks. That's okay.
Yeah. I'm just sorry. I'm just looking to the question. So now Jason said there was a question that was not a response to the question. Okay, so there wasn't a question, and Jason has answered the previous question by Anna. Perfect. Okay, so so we sorted with the questions, and have we mentioned everything here? Okay, so
Yeah,
we
I think we
talk
talked
about the
about all of it.
decision. Yeah, so not fixing the problem, guiding instead of directing. So what's, I guess, you already mentioned it, but like, I guess, what was the, I don't know, the hardest thing for you to change in your behavior when you did this transition? Which one was the most challenging for you?
Changing my language. So there are, you know, lots of powerful questions, right? I'm sure if you Google, you find a lot of them, and most of them are really good. Some of them probably not really good, but that's okay. You choose. What I've done, I picked one of those questions, practice it for 1 week. So I practiced it with my daughter initially, just to see her reaction, right? So for example, you know, she want to have chocolate. Okay. So how to, previously as a Scrum police, no, chocolate is bad. Okay.
Yep.
You probably can do it, but she will go to pantry and pick your chocolate, right? A couple of years later, she will go and buy it. So probably the better way is to explain what sugar does to your body. Okay. And when she want to have it, so I ask, okay, you know what happens. So what do you think? Do you think is it a good? You already had the chocolate. Do you think, it's good for your body, for your teeth to have another one? There are chocolates in the pantry. You can go and have. And every time I talk like that, she doesn't pick. Hopefully
There
she
you go.
doesn't hear now.
Now she knows all the secrets, you
Yeah,
know.
but yeah, that worked a lot for me. So pick those questions, practice it at work
Mm-hmm.
or with your friends, because in our day-to-day life, there are lots of things happen, and we act as a police. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying about changing the mindset. When you change your mindset, then you're not going to be a police, not just for Scrum, for anything else. Right? So you become, you help other people. So
And I
yeah.
like also like how you give the example that you pretty much like kind of incorporating Scrum into your life, because like you're practicing on your daughter. Where this did you learn this like approach in one of the Scrum courses? Like, did you read about it? Like this example that you gave to us about asking the right questions. So instead of saying no to person, but let them think about it and ask them question about it. Like where you get this information originally? Like, did you read about it, or it was in a Scrum course, or like how did you come up with this
I
ideas?
I researched about it first because I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that there is something is not right. Right. The first time that I started working as an agile practitioner with no authority, I've noticed that I can't do what I used to do. So there is something is not right. So I thought about it, and I've noticed that again, my language is not right. I'm a little bit offensive. Okay, so people,
Mm-hmm.
and I keep saying, I remember, I keep saying, people don't listen to me, right? And one day, and I think about it for myself. I thought a lot, right? And one day I was like, maybe they shouldn't listen to me. Why I think they should listen to me in the first place? I want to be heard. Okay. And that point I was like, okay, the language is the problem. And then I talked to my wife. She is a psychologist. So she gave me lots of material. And then I went to some coaching courses, not Scrum courses, in some
Mm-hmm.
coaching courses.
Mm-hmm.
And I practice, and I think now I'm happy with where I am. So in
And
last year, I worked with 3 different teams, lots of managers, and I can say almost all of them listen to me.
And I really like your example about people don't listen to you and people like shouldn't listen to you, because at the end of the day, like if you really want someone, the only way to make someone to do something, it's to make them want to do it.
Mm.
So you basically there is no point like trying to like force people to do something, because even if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it halfway or their way. So the idea is making people to want to do something if you actually want to achieve some results. And that's I guess that's exactly your example about the daughter. Like, and I'm really glad that you're also pointing out that it took you 10 years to get to the point, because sometimes people think that asking right question is something simple, but it's absolutely not the
No,
easiest job.
yeah,
In
exactly. And also another thing I would suggest is to, rather than focus on the problem, focus on the solution, where we want to be in the future, rather than all the problem we have, right? Because there are lots of problems. It's difficult. Again, that helps, to see things differently.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments quickly.
Hmm.
Just join. Were you talking about the maturity as a Scrum Master, and what does it mean? So yes, we talk about it in the beginning of the live stream. You can watch the replay. We talk about some maturity of the Scrum already. So I don't know, or if you just wanna, I don't know, mention
Just
anything
very
with the.
quickly,
Mhm.
so the first stage for me was a Scrum police. So I forced people to follow Scrum. Bad approach for me. The next level was to coach Scrum.
That's
rather than
the main,
follow the rules.
rather than exactly the same what we just talked about, saying no to people or asking them why they think it might be not that good idea. So the Jason saying experience is essential. I think his work is dealt for 5 years, another 5 years as a Scrum Master. So yeah, when we're talking about your 10 years experience, or that's was you were 5 years as a developer and about 5 years as a Scrum Master. Is it correct?
No.
No.
A little bit more. So I have altogether about 16 years experience, 15, 16, something like that, maybe a little bit more, less. I stopped counting. But yeah, the first maybe 7 or something was 100% development. And the next was development, agile. And last maybe 4 years, it was just agile and Scrum and stuff like that.
Yeah. So guys, I'm just cautious about time. We're already 15 minutes into our live stream. If you have any like a final question, please quickly pop it into the comment. We have time just to answer one more question. While you're thinking about your question, I just want to quickly remind you that I'm going live every Wednesday. So next Wednesday will be already 1st of December. Oh my God, it's almost Christmas. So 1st of December, we're going to talk with Kieran, and we're going to talk about how to hire the right people to strengthen your teams. So we're basically going to talk about the hiring process, but we're going to talk about, when we're hiring, we not only think about the skills that we need for, the person we're hiring, we also need to think about that this person could be a good fit for our team. And not every person will fit in our particular situation, and how we can make sure we basically hire these right people to strengthen our particular team. So that will be next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with Kieran, and that's pretty much will be second last show of our this year, December. So we have a show on the 1st of December and then on the 8th of December. And then we're going to Christmas break. So, and I would love to hear your ideas, guys, what sort of topics you would like to hear next year in February. So if you have any suggestions for me, please let me know. And we have a final question. I really like your nickname. Wash too hot. I don't know your name. Please comment with your name so we don't call you by the nickname. So the question is it necessary to be a police Scrum Master first in order to become a coach Scrum Master?
No. If I had a coach at that time, I've never become a Scrum Police, because I haven't had a coach, so that was my mistake. So
yeah,
I don't think being Scrum Police it's a good idea. But as a Scrum Master, you need to understand Scrum, and you need to practice Scrum properly. How to make the influence, it's your skill, and I suggest to use more coaching and leading approach rather than policing approach.
So you think you can skip this police stage completely? Like for you, like you think you could have skipped it if you take the coaching yourself, or
yeah, if I had someone with the experience that I have today next to me and help me and coach me, so yeah, of course.
But at the end of the day, do you think like majority of people will go through this police change till they just gain this experience? Because they need to be in a few.
I think most people stuck in Scrum policing stage and never leave that stage.
Okay, yeah. So unless I guess they get this additional coaching to
I think unless they understand that their approach is not the best way as their point of view. If their approach works, then good. But we need to ask those people. When I was a Scrum Police, my job wasn't that fun, especially Scrum Police without authority. Scrum Police with authority,
yeah,
okay. I mean, not okay. It wasn't a horrible experience for me. Probably it was horrible experience for other people. But yeah.
It's probably a good question to ask people who in the team, like a developers who's now in the team with the Scrum Police, Scrum Master, and how they feel. That probably would be a good question for the poll. And my name is Wensley. Thank you, Wensley. So we don't need to call you by nickname. Joining us from Netherlands. And I think there is one more question from Hussein there. How do you motivate a non-Scrum team to appreciate and follow Scrum practice without having to police them? It's a big question, I think.
Cool. The quick answer is, first of all, why do we think that Scrum works for that team? What problem they have, and how we want to resolve that problem with Scrum. I think we need to focus on this and see what happened and what they answer to this question.
Yeah, and what's kind of and think I guess see what sort of answers you will get and go from there again.
Just off topic, if, for example, someone asks Hussein to, hey Hussein, your job is to do Scrum, force it, push it, right? So rather than fight with people, maybe it would be good to start with, first of all, explain, this is Scrum and stuff like that, and say, let's try it. We have this support from management to practice something new. If we fail, that's okay. We practice it for a few months. If it doesn't work, you always can back to how you used to work, right? If after a couple of sprints, after a couple of months, you feel that no, it's working, and you don't have the problem that you had before, of course you will still have some problem, but if you think it's on the right direction, then continue.
Yeah, so kind of giving people choice as well, feeling that that's their choice to try and give it a go instead of that they force, I guess, to do so.
Yeah, because if you don't try it, you don't know if it works for you or not. Yeah. So you have the opportunity to try it. So let's try.
Yep. So Hussein, probably we can talk about it for hours if going through all the details, but I'm just cautious to time as well. So I guess everyone can connect with you on LinkedIn, or is it the best time to communicate with you if anyone want to reach out and maybe ask more questions?
Absolutely. LinkedIn will be the best medium for me. Absolutely.
So guys, obviously, I tag Orod and this live stream. So if you have any additional questions, make sure to connect with Orod on LinkedIn. And as promised, there, a quick little surprise at the end, little giveaway. So for those who've been the most active during our live streams, I'm gonna set up a quick virtual coffee chat with Orod, so you can ask more questions. So Orod, you have to pick the winner. Who will be the person you're gonna have a virtual coffee chat sometime.
I think Jason asked more. Jason asked the most question. So do I have to pick one person?
Look, if you feel generous and you want to have more chats, you can pick as many as you want.
Because Hussein also asked a good question. I like to have a chat with Hussein too. So maybe Jason and Hussein.
Perfect, no problem. So Jason and Hussein, make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I'm connected with you both on LinkedIn already. But if not, just make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll send you some details. And Orod, so to wrap up this live stream, we have 40 seconds. Just put you on the spot. What is your favorite inspirational quote?
Oh my God. You made me nervous when you say 40 seconds. I can't remember, but what I want to say as the last thing, that people don't have to listen to you. You want to be heard. Perfect. So you work on yourself.
Yep. Don't think that someone has to listen to you. It's you, the one who want to be heard.
That's
So
right.
thank you, Rod. And I just want to finish this live stream before we hit 1 hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
Wednesday and connect with us on LinkedIn. Thank you. See
Thanks.
you.
See you.